It started when we moved into our first real house after years in apartments. My wife and I were excited, big backyard, 2 stories, and neighbors who seemed friendly enough. The house to our left was occupied by an older man named Mr. Harlan. He lived alone, kept to himself, waved politely when we saw him watering his plants. Nothing unusual. The house on the right was empty for months after we arrived. For sale signs stayed up, weeds grew a little taller each week. Then, one rainy October evening, a moving truck pulled up next door. No fanfare, no family, just one guy unloading boxes by himself. Tall, thin, maybe late 30s. He wore a dark hoodie even though it wasn't cold. We watched from our porch as he carried in a single mattress, a lamp, and what looked like a heavy duffel bag. No furniture followed. Just that. He caught us looking, gave a quick nod, and disappeared inside. No introduction, no hello. We shrugged it off. People move for all kinds of reasons. The first odd thing happened a week later. Around 2 a.m. I woke up to a low thumping sound. Like someone dragging something heavy across a floor. It was coming from the right wall, his wall. Not loud enough to complain about, but steady. Thump, thump, pause, thump. I lay there listening until it stopped around 3. The next morning, I mentioned it to my wife. She hadn't heard anything. Old houses creak, she said. Fair enough. But it kept happening. Every few nights, the same dragging sound. Sometimes accompanied by faint muttering like someone talking to themselves. Never clear words, just a low murmur. We started calling him the quiet guy because we still didn't know his name. He never came out during the day much. Lights were always off except for one dim bulb in what we guessed was his living room. Curtains stayed drawn. Then the smells started. Not garbage or cooking, something metallic, sharp, like old coins mixed with damp earth. It drifted over the fence when the wind shifted. My wife joked it was probably a leaky pipe or something in the basement. But it got stronger over weeks. One afternoon, I was in our backyard raking leaves when I noticed his back door was cracked open. Just an inch. No one inside. Curiosity got the better of me. I walked over, knocked lightly. Hey, everything okay? No answer. I pushed the door a little wider enough to see inside. The kitchen was bare. No fridge food, no dishes in the sink. Just boxes stacked against the wall, still taped shut. And on the counter, a row of small glass jars, filled with dark liquid. I couldn't make out what was inside from the angle, but one had something floating. My stomach turned. I backed away fast, heart hammering, and went home. Told my wife. She said I was being paranoid. Maybe he's into pickling or home brewing. Yeah, right. The noises escalated after that. The dragging became more frequent, and now there were other sounds, sharp snaps, like wood breaking, or bones. Late one night, around midnight, the thumping stopped abruptly, replaced by a single, clear scream. Short, cut off. Not human panic, more like pain. My wife sat up in bed. Did you hear that? We both did. We called the non-emergency line. Police said they'd do a welfare check in the morning. Morning came. Officer knocked on his door. No answer. They peered through windows, saw nothing alarming, left a note. Life went on. But we couldn't shake it. A few days later, my wife was home alone while I was at work. She texted me, "The guy next door is staring at our house from his window. Just standing there. Not moving." She sent a photo, blurry, but clear enough. Him, motionless, face pressed to the glass, eyes locked on our side. She closed the blinds, but said she could still feel him watching. That night, the power flickered in our house. Just for a second. Then the dragging started again, louder, closer to the shared wall. Like whatever he was moving was right against it. We lay awake, listening. Then, scratching. Slow, deliberate nails on wood. From inside his side. My wife whispered, "He's trying to get through." We didn't sleep. At dawn, I went outside to check. His back door was wide open now. Wind blowing it back and forth. I called the police again. This time they forced entry. Inside was worse than I imagined. The living room was empty except for one chair facing our house. On the wall, photos. Dozens. Printed from our social media, our windows, our yard. Us laughing on the porch. Us gardening. Us sleeping taken through gaps in our blinds at night. Some dated back months before he moved in. But the basement, that's where they found the real horror. A makeshift room. Concrete floor stained dark. Tools, hammers, saws, plastic sheeting. And in the corner, a large freezer. Locked. When they pried it open, empty. But the inside was lined with scratches. Fingernail marks. Fresh ones. The police searched for him. No sign. His name on the lease was fake. Utilities in another alias. Van was registered to a ghost. They found blood traces, old and new, in the basement. Not enough for charges yet, but enough to know something terrible happened there. We moved out 2 weeks later. Couldn't stay. But here's the part that still keeps me up. A month after we left, the new owners called the police. Said they heard dragging sounds at night. From the wall. From his old side. Even though the house was empty. And last week, I got an anonymous text. Just one photo. Our old house at night. The window of what used to be our bedroom. A silhouette standing there, looking out. Toward where we live now. I don't know if he's still watching. I don't want to know. But every time I hear a thump in the night, I wonder if he ever really left.